my song. Let's sing it. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, sing. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
Spoon, motherfuckers! I am live. Oh man, I am live. It took a fucking moment. I don't know. I'd set up this stuff and then I got like ready and then I came back and I hit go live and it was like, nah, we're not gonna let you go live. Anyway, it doesn't matter. How's my beard looking? I'm growing out the mustache so that I can twirl it in the future. I'm not quite at twirling level yet, but I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get to the twirling level. I love you. Welcome to Coolest Geek Alive and the Tick celebration. The Tick is one of my favorite fandoms, my favorite properties, my favorite piece of entertainment. I fucking love the Tick, and I'm really excited to chat about it today. I wrote so much stuff. I couldn't rewatch all of the Tick animated series and rewatch all of the 2 live action series and reread all of the comic books that I've read in my life. But I could research and watch a bunch of best ofs and like remind myself today. So, there was the things that like I took with me that I've always remembered and been quoting throughout my life besides Spoon. I think I'm loaded for bear. So let's get into it, right? The Tick. Did he escape from a mental institution? He doesn't seem to remember. And honestly, that is the beauty of the Tick. An origin shrouded in mystery, contradiction, and possibly pudding. From comics to cartoons to not 1 but 2 live action shows, every incarnation of this character is completely unique and completely worth your time. And I mean that. There's very few properties that gets adapted and, it's like it's always good. The Tick is always fucking good. The comics are good, by the original ones by Ben Edlund, and then later the ones that are written by various other people. Just the concepts are so good that those people, even when no-name writers or whatever working on this thing and no-name artists, it's excellent. And the animated series is, of course, amazing. And the 2 live-action series, even though the first one was short-lived, it's awesome. And also, Ben Edlund was involved in some other shit that I'm going to mention by the time we get to the end of the show today. So, really, every incarnation of this character has just been gangbusters, awesome, and is totally worth your time. So without further ado, let's start with the comics. Now, I personally got into the Tick through the animated series first, but once I discovered the comics, I became a full-blown Tick head. I just love how that rolls off the tongue. I'm a Tick head. That's right. Created by the one and only Ben Edlund, originally for the New England Comics newsletter. Yeah, seriously, the series was a true indie hit. I read the ongoing series, loved it, and even reached out to New England Comics multiple times to ask about writing for the character of the Tick. I never got my call back, but someday I will write the Tick. Oh yes, he will be mine. So where do I start? How about his original origin story? Now, in the comics, the Tick begins in a mental institution. Or does he? He escapes out of boredom, no memory, no plan, just justice and deranged optimism. Now, this comic introduces so much of what went onto greatness in other forms. So often people want to credit TV and film interpretations of comic book characters for their ultimate success. But the ideas presented in the source material in these very first issues are exactly what created the blueprint for the Tick's enduring success. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. From his early monologues about destiny, which were chef's kiss levels of ridiculousness and profundity from the very beginning. And the amazing sound effects, which are just literally verbs. Grab, hug, sit. I was always trying to do that in my own comics because I suck at sound effects. And I'm just like, why can't I just make every comic like the Tick and just like write whatever I want him to do? Punch, zing, swing, crackle. Just these terrible sound effects. That was one of the biggest editing notes that I would always get was my editors would be like, let's change this sound effect to something a little bit more, abstract, because I would try to get away with basically doing it the way the Tick did it, mostly because it was easy and my brain just could not break down sound effects. And I don't know if that's the same thing that motivated Ben Edlund, but holy shit, great shit. And I mean, that is a joke that has gone on to be used in so many other places, like Spider-Man, Thwip, Bagel, for those of you who get that reference. And the beautifully black and white artwork only gets better with time. It's really it's a lovely looking book. This series also, of course, introduces Arthur, the moth costume former accountant, but he doesn't actually appear until issue 4. And Dot, Arthur's sister, who joins later, who was finally adapted into other media in the recent live action series, but we'll get to that one in a little bit. And awesomely, in issue 12 of the original series, we see the debut of the Terror, the ancient supervillain showing up in the final issue of the run. Now, I read so much of this long ago, and I no longer have the individual issues, but I did take the time to compile a few iconic lines from the Tick's amazing monologues, and I quote, "Evil is afoot, and I am a size 12. Or, "You can't destroy me. I'm like a cockroach. I'll survive the nuclear winter and ride a dog sled over your grave." Or how about, "Destiny dresses you in strange clothes, my friend, and strange clothes require strange laundry detergent." Yes. Some of the great heroes and their concepts from the early days include Arthur, of course, moth suit, accountant, reluctant but loyal sidekick, overweight. For those of you who haven't engaged in tickery, you really need to. Also, the Sidekick Lounge is introduced, which is a depressing dive bar that's just for sidekicks, right next to the more extravagant gathering of all the actual superheroes. Genius. And of course, the sidekicks that I don't remember them all, but the sidekicks that Arthur meets in there are just lame in the most wonderful way, and it's glorious. You got Paul the Samurai, who I guess eventually had his own spin-off, and he was kind of like a stoic warrior version of the Tick, complete with Tick-esque monologues, but like in samurai kind of vibe. Man-Eating Cow, who I think also at least had like a special. I love Man-Eating Cow. It's a real thing, the Man-Eating Cow, and he became an anti-hero, which is awesome. I think you see him in the animated series only as like a villain, but yeah, he's an anti-hero in the comics. Gotta love that. You got the Caped Wonder, who is a Superman parody that is just sort of like there and introduced for the Tick to really like fucking drive him crazy. I think I wrote about a little bit in some of my favorite bits later in this in this little write up. So I'll get to some more about the Caped Wonder episode of the comic book series or Caped Wonder issue. Now, and I think by the end of it, the Tick might have killed him. Oops. Also, you got the Chainsaw Vigilante, who's fun. He's just literally a dude with a chainsaw, ultra violent, and whatever else. No, I am on. I got to tell. I'm on YouTube now, YouTube Live, and I'm on doing show. You're interrupting. I'm writing to him. You're interrupting. Jeez. That's my buddy Dave Alusik, who is helping me promote the series and helping me do a lot of promotion for Blacklight District Studios. Shout out to Dave. Appreciate you, brother, even though I just made fun of you and gave you shit on the air. But anyway, let's get back into it. So the Chainsaw Vigilante, he's just got a chainsaw. He's ultra violent. He's completely straight-faced, but he's got a great look. I quite like the Chainsaw Vigilante, a parody of so many of the hard-boiled, ultra-violent comic books of the time. There's Friendly Fire, who's a firefighter-themed superhero, not very friendly, often explodes things. And the alternative Tick, who goes on to be Barry. I don't know if he was called Barry in the comic book version of it, but he's basically just he's just somebody trying to use the name. And the Tick, and him kind of get into a fight because like there can only be one Tick. I was the Tick first. Very, very fun stuff. And then as far as villains and foes goes, this show this comic book introduces so many of the characters that you eventually see in the show who are great, including Chairface Chippendale, who's a classy suit wearing, chair-headed, like he literally just his head is a little chair. Famously in the comics and in the show, he carves his name into the moon, but he only gets as far as Cha. There's the Red Eye, who is really fun because it's a black and white comic book. And when they introduce the Red Eye, he actually has a red eye in the black and white comic book series. So, they spent a little bit extra just to get his eye colored red. There's the Red Scare, who I think has gone on to be featured in some of these other incarnations of the show. He's like a Cold War robot kind of villain or kind of robo villain with like armor. Propaganda wrapped in steel. Ton of Dick Tracy villains also, or at least Dick Tracy villain inspired villains. Okay, like Zipperneck, literally has a fucking zipper for a neck, and Boyle's Brown, and Eyebrows Smith, who has exceptionally intimidating eyebrows. I really like him. And the Crease, who's just got this gnarly crease in the center of his face. If you're a fan of the Dick Tracy film or have ever read the Dick Tracy comics, they're just like right out of the Dick Tracy book, but in this absurd, making fun of it sort of way that I really loved. And best yet, ninjas. The ninjas throughout all of the Tick comic books, like a lot of what I'm talking about here is just the initial 12 issues, which is just kind of like the most important ones because they set the stage for everything else. But the ninjas were a constant theme, just ninjas showing up at various times in various issues of the Tick. And the joke was always just that they stuck out like a sore thumb in the middle of a major metropolitan. It was just like they're hiding in shrubs and you can like clearly see them. And that was the main thing. Like they were hiding, but you were like, there you are. It was like that moment where the ghost face is hiding in the house and she's like, you're under the carpet, you're in the curtains. I can see your feet. Like constantly. You could see their feet. You could see their ninja swords. You could see their heads. They were not very good at hiding. And I love that. I really wanted to bring that as a writer in my own way into the Deadpool comics. And I had done a bunch of pitches for Deadpool stuff, and I had always had pitches that with ninjas in them. And if you read my original Deadpool that came into Marvel Comics Presents, there's a little red ninja. There's a whole bunch of ninjas that he fights, and there's a lot of joking going on. And so much of that was inspired by shit from the Tick, which was great. And the Tick Ninjas was really like a homage and parody of the ninjas when they would show up in Daredevil and stuff, because a lot of times it looked kind of funny. It was just sort of like, what's this fucking ninja doing here in the middle of the city? It was a little weird. I mean, usually when they did it right, they would show up at night. But Ben Edlund was like, imagine they showed up in the morning. That would make it better. So the ninjas played for laughs in the Tick. One of my favorite ongoing gags throughout all of the series, and there's so many Tick comics that you'll find out in the ether. But the original Tick series by Ben Edlund himself, the 12 issues, that's what you want to get. You want to get yourself a copy of that graphic novel, and then, but really, any comic you come along, grab it. It's awesome. They're awesome. Lots of specials, holiday specials, and annuals, and things like that, and it's all really excellent. Last but not least, in the villains category is the Terror, the ancient and decaying Terror. He doesn't show up until the very last issue of Ben's original series, but it's excellent. It's all excellent. I highly recommend. Anyway, some favorite moments from the comics that I wanted to talk about. Getting back to when he was messing with Superman. It's the Tick. He's disguised, but all he's doing is wearing a necktie. It's the Tick in full Tick regalia and a necktie. That's his disguise. And everyone buys it. And it's lovely. And it's that sort of commitment to the gags that like is amazing. Eventually, he loses his job at the newspaper, and he's making Superman so aggravated while he's working there the whole time. He's the crossword puzzle editor. And he doesn't understand the words, and like he's putting in things that aren't actual words into the sound effects instead of weird things, which is funny because there's no real sound effects in the Tick comics. It's all yoink and verbs. But the ninja fights, badass, slapstick, one of the comics' best recurring bits, and the Sidekick Lounge and Superhero Bar, where we get to meet Hand Grenade Man and Sarcastro, the sarcastic soldier. Excellent. And then the Superhero Clubhouse, which is basically like the Justice League's Hall of Justice. But they have these ridiculous meetings that never really seem to actually stop any crime. Honestly, I've read just about every Tick comic I can get my hands on over the years. The original run, the specials, the spin-offs, the one-shots by other creators, all of it. And if you like the Tick, I guarantee you will love them too. I know so many people out there have watched the TV show, or maybe they've watched the animated series. They've watched some piece of the Tick. But most of you have not read the comics. Please go read them. Anytime a new Tick comic came out, while I was actively reading comics, I bought it. I was never disappointed, ever. All right. So part 2 of this whole shebang is talking about the cartoon, which is really where I started. But I, being a purist, I went back and I read the comic books, and I advise you to as well. So the cartoon's probably the way most of us who are Tick fans got into it, unless you're younger. The Tick Saturday mornings, mid-90s, pure blue chaos on your TV screen. It wasn't just good. It was fucking brilliant. Sharp, deeply weird. And somehow this thing aired on Fox Kids right next to Power Rangers and Tiny Toons. And yet it was so filled with absurdist brilliance, meta commentary, and underrated voice acting. It felt like it had no business being that good. But it was. It's one of the best superhero cartoons of all time. My father, who's not a cartoon guy, he used to watch it with me. He loves the fucking Tick. And come on, let's all sing a rousing version of the show open to get us into it. Dum dwee dab 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 dwee dow. Dum dwee dab 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 dwee dow. Tweet dow doop dow. Tweet dow doop dow doop dab dum dwee dab dee doo wow. I mean, just that fucking theme song. Like, what fucking Saturday morning cartoon had a theme song like that was some doo-wop nonsense? It was so, too smart for its own fucking good, but it was glorious. And I'm so glad that it really connected with as many people that it did. And, and I don't know what sort of a hit it was, because it didn't last as long as I wanted it to last, but it's such a fucking great show, man. That one is, yeah. So to kick us off, let's talk about the weird, wonderful kind of Justice League of this show. You got Arthur, who's still the reluctant moth, still the heart. He's basically the show's emotional center. You got American Made, high-heeled, flag-themed assassin, deadly, sarcastic, always done with everyone's crap, especially the men. Sewer Urchin, who's like half Rain Man, half Aquaman, all lovable. It's dry, so very dry, and always smelly, presumably. Plus, you got Deflator Mouse, who's the cowardly Batman parody, who's mostly hiding behind potted plants whenever the shit hits the fan. And you got the Caped Chameleon, who turns invisible unless you're looking at him. Not exactly a useful power. Total loser energy, but that's why we love him. And then one of my favorites, who was only on one episode, Little Wooden Boy. Arthur gets kidnapped. Tick replaces him with a block of wood with a very poorly hand-drawn face. But when the Tick throws a hard piece of wood at somebody, it really kind of works as a sidekick. Attack, Little Wooden Boy! He was taking people out with that block of wood. I just still, when I'm thinking about it, that his sidekick would be this little, he's got little dangly legs and dangly arms. He's talking to him because, Arthur's let him down and he needs a new sidekick. And it's sad and sweet and very powerful when he chucks it at your head. One of my favorites of their good guy legion within the show was Four-Legged Man. He's just a guy with four legs. He's not fast or strong or anything. Just four legs. And I quite like the team name, the Civic-Minded Five. Public-minded and completely useless. And, of course, the human fucking bullet. He launches himself out of a cannon into battle, fired by his son, always yelling, "Fire me, boy!" and always overshooting the fight. And they had made an action figure line of this whole bit, and there's some great bits that came out of the action figure line. And I was very fond at throwing the human bullet at people. Just like launch it at my brothers. My sister wasn't born yet. So going on to the villains. Oh, the villains. This show didn't just have good villains. It had unhinged, genius villains. And most of them would have been jokes in any other show. But here, they got full arcs, not just like a little one-off. Of course, you got Chairface Chippendale, and, we got the Cha on the moon. But the cartoon left it that way. Every episode of the cartoon thereafter, they were constantly looking up at the moon and seeing the Cha. And again, I don't remember if they did that in the comics, because I read the comics afterwards. So I credit the animated series for like my remembrance of that moment. But oh man, that was just so amazing for me. Every single time you get a shot of the moon on the animated series and it said Cha from the early episode with Chairface, you were just like, I love this show. Also, the Terror shows up. He, played as an immortal kind of Crypt Keeper style ancient villain. And then just amazing ones who were created for the show, like the Midnight Bomber, what bombs at midnight. And probably most quoted character from the entire show, Ba-boom! That's one for the party. And I don't know if he was played by the voice of Beavis, but when I quote him now, that's how I do it. Dinosaur Neil, who's a paleontologist who turned into a kaiju. And they're literally fighting his mustache whiskers. I thought the shit was hysterical. He was kind of more sad than scary, but still awesome. You had Venus and Milo, like play off of Venus to Milo. And they had this arm removal ray where they would shoot people and their arms would fall off, including the Tick and Arthur, where they took the Tick's arms and they took Arthur's arms and they put them onto these robot henchmen that they had. So at a certain point, you get the Arthur and Tick having to fight without any arms, their arms on a robot, which was this is glorious stuff, man. I hope you're laughing at home because I'm laughing here and I feel like an asshole, but it's really genuinely awesome. One of my favorite characters from the show was called the Human Ton, and Handy. He was like this big kind of blob type character, but he had a hand puppet named Handy, and he was a talking hand puppet, but they were like one mind. Handy was like kind of more. He was the smart one. This is very much like a ventriloquist kind of bit, but not played seriously, played really stupid in the best way. I remember the Tick just like really was getting inflamed by that hand puppet. Also, a favorite of mine was Blowhole, who's a giant land-based narwhal war machine. He's just running across the country. Nobody asked for it. Nobody forgets it. I mean, once you've seen a whale, a land whale, there she blows on land. It's just fucking hysterical. Then I really also like Dean, who was a henchman for Chairface Chippendale, who was purported to have the strongest grip in the world. No further context needed. But he had one of those like twisty heads where you tighten the bolt. And it's just such a simple design. They had an action figure of that too. I love that action figure. You got the evil Santas or dupla Santa, something like that. I forget what they called him. But the Tick can't find him because he can't fight him because of you don't punch Santa. And by the end of the episode, he's multiplied, and then by the end of the episode, Tick gets to meet the real Santa, and he's very, very excited about that because the other superheroes are making fun of him that Santa's not real, but the Tick believes, just like I do. And there's a really great episode where the Tick wakes up with this mustache that is Venom style, evil, sentient, and it literally like puts its tendrils into his brain, is like controlling his mind. It's very funny, and he comes up against the agents of Shave, SHAVE, which is like a Agent Fury or Howling Commandos kind of vibe. Very fun stuff. And then, of course, one of the best episodes featuring Barry, the other Tick, which, oh man, he won't stop calling himself the Tick. He thinks he deserves the name more. His catchphrase, "I am the Tick." I am the Tick. That's a great one. I had a lot of fun kind of playing with that myself when I did Toy Story back in the day with Boom Studios. Our first arc was called The Return of Buzz Lightyear, and we had a new Buzz Lightyear fresh out of the package fighting with the original Buzz, and I couldn't help but think of the Tick versus the Tick over and over again as I was writing the scene between them, and certainly a lot of inspiration came from that. So some best episodes, moments that like I put together, and I mean, these aren't just great. They're unforgettable. They're iconic, perfectly quotable, some of the best animated superhero storytelling ever done. And granted, I covered a lot of it already, but like just some extra pieces that I wanted to include, things that just like stuck out in my mind that I was literally like, oh, I got to also talk about this. The steel box scene from the opening episode. There's like in the origin story of the animated series is essentially that he goes to this, I don't know, this like superhero conference that they have where there's like some judges and everybody does like a demonstration of their powers. And then they determine where you should be, what you should be defending or whatever. Okay, we're going to send him to the podunk town of whatever the hell it is. But he demonstrates so great that even though he blows up the entire building in his demonstration, he gets put in charge of the city. And basically the Tick walks in with this big steel box that he like hits a button and it opens up, and it's just blades and hammers and laser guns and all this stuff that's like and he's going to sit there to show what it does. And in the end, it just kind of hits him on the head with a hammer, but then it explodes and it nearly brings down the entire building, and he's fine. So he gets given the the key to the city basically, but he calls it the deadliest engine of destruction 1974 had to offer. And I just thought that was so awesome. And they made a toy of it, and I had it and I loved it. And my room for years, I had the Tick sitting in the engine of destruction, about to get, beat up by it. And of course, I would put all sorts of people in it all the time. Dr. Doom used to use the deadliest engine of destruction. Yeah, that is a great toy, and if you can get your hands on it, I'm sure it's probably pretty expensive now, but, like, you could put any toy in that, and it is an excellent little machine of death. This is a lovely machine of death. Um, there's an early scene, I don't know if it's in the first episode, it's in an early episode where he tells somebody that he's the Tick, and they're like, "Oh, yeah?" Like, "Tick's got 8 legs." And the Tick turns to him and says, "How do you know I don't?" Flawless deadpan. I love it. And then the best line, and I don't remember the exact episode, but they're in space with aliens. And at a certain point, they tell the Tick that they're going to destroy the Earth. And he says something to the effect of, "You can't destroy the Earth. That's where I keep all my stuff." And I just thought that was the greatest line of all time. Of all the things to focus upon when the Earth is in jeopardy, is that's the place where I keep my things. You can't destroy that. You would be destroying all my things, and I like my things. Great stuff, man. Bonus voice actor highlight. I mean, this cast was stacked with talent, and went very underappreciated at the time. But Townsend Coleman as the Tick himself, also the voice of Michelangelo in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, pure power. Rob Paulson, Frank Welker, Cam Clark, the amazing Jim Cummings, Bobcat Goldthwait, and so many other members of voice acting royalty. They showed up as side characters, villains, henchmen, and made every moment shine. I would have named more, but like I just, most people don't know who I'm talking about, so I'm just like shouting out random words. But really, the voice cast of fucking the Tick is awesome, just filled with lots of people who are known for being great voice actors, and they all came. They picked up the phone when it rang for the Tick, and they delivered amazing performances. Lots of great deadpans, and just really all well delivered. The voice actors definitely made the show that much better, even though conceptually, what they had to work with was golden. Anyway, the cartoon version of the Tick is still one of the best superhero adaptations ever made. Period. Hands down. Full stop. Enough said. It walks the line between satire, sincerity, and absolute insanity, and it never flinches. If you've never seen it, go find it. If you have seen it, watch it again. I'm going to watch it again after this morning's rewatching of all these episodes. It was really just like fun. I guess I didn't rewatch like full episodes, just a lot of clips and just a ton of different things to remind me and like, get my gears going about some of the stuff I loved about the show. But you will catch something new every time, a weird visual gag, a meta joke, or a line delivery so perfect it will make you cry laugh. All right, moving into our third part of this, which is the live action series and beyond. Now, take one of the live action attempt was a 2001 series made by Fox, which was starring Patrick Warburton. And there's a lot to love about this first live action version of the Tick. It was short lived, but it's got real charm. It really does. Some great performances. And Patrick Warburton, he was just absolutely perfect as the Tick. I mean, come on, that voice. I'm not going to hell. The build, the presence. I mean, the dude was born to say spoon. He was a little bit more like subdued than other versions of it, but he was a little slower, a little dumber, but fucking awesome. And the show aired on Fox. It lasted just 9 episodes, but still has a cult following to this day. Why? Because it captured something truly special. And absurdity wrapped in sitcom pacing with just enough budget to be brilliant and weird at the same time. Although lots of things would always be done like off panel because they couldn't afford it, which works just as well as long as it's fucking funny. And there was plenty of things to like. I really wish that it had some more time to develop itself because 9 episodes just wasn't enough. And there was a lot of promise there, but it just didn't quite land, or didn't quite land with a big enough audience to continue. Anyway, of course, you got Warburton's Tick. You got Arthur, played by David Burke, who's still an accountant turned moth, still the straight man to the madness. But you, instead of Deflator Mouse, you've got Bat Manuel, who's a flamboyant take on Deflator Mouse, played by Nestor Carbonell. Yes, before The Dark Knight, he was Batman. And Captain Liberty, who's a patriotic, no-nonsense female hero who's constantly frustrated by the boys, based clearly on American Made. But for some reason, they couldn't use American Made, and they couldn't use Batman well. I guess they couldn't use a lot of the characters that were associated with the animated series at the time. So they rewrote these characters to use them without using them. Anyway, some villains from the 9 episodes that were memorable, and some memorable moments with them is, well, one episode, it ends with a mention, just a mention, you don't see him, but this mention of Apocalypse Cow, who I presume is some sort of fire-breathing cow. And it ends with one of my favorite fucking lines of the Tick. And again, another one that I walked away quoting for forever, which basically he goes out and, I just remember the beginning of it too. The Tick goes out and he comes back in and he goes, Arthur, there's fire everywhere. Fight fire with Arthur. Which I think is a fucking great line. And especially great considering my last episode of Everything They Don't Want You to Know was fighting fire with fire, and why that's not a great idea. Check out that episode. It's pure gold, as is this episode of the Tick series. Prank calling the terror was really funny. Just is your refrigerator running shit, but delivery and just the way that Patrick Warburton played the Tick was great. There was an elevator fight, which was a full-blown, superhero brawl in the tightest of space imaginable. Before Deadpool and Wolverine did it in a little car, the Tick was doing it in an elevator. Great stuff. And then one of my other favorite messages, which I've often quoted as well, was there's a scene where I don't know if it was the place where they would always go. They would end every episode at this restaurant, sitting in a booth, and it's a Chinese restaurant, and they bring the Tick a fortune cookie, and he's like, "Oh, little cookies from the Orient," and he puts it in his mouth, and all of a sudden he goes, "Huh, a secret message from my teeth." And that shit's fucking great. The Tick is just, it's just the best, man. The concept is just so easy to do well, even when it's not the best. And this series is not as good as the series that came after it. But you've got an appearance by the Red Scare, who's the Soviet-era robo-assassin that I talked about earlier. I also remember liking a character named Destroyo, who's a retired supervillain who's trying to go straight. Great stuff. And some great Patrick Warburton lines. I mean, from "I am the wild blue yonder, I am the justice blasting beacon of hope. But you're not crazy. You're going sane in a crazy world. And you're not going to like what comes out of me when I eat dairy." It's a terrible threat when you're a superhero. So imagine Superman going around saying that to people. "You're not going to like what comes out of me when I eat dairy. Oh no, Superman. Super farts are deadly." It's really hard to deliver all of this humor and not laugh and feel like a moron. Yo, what's up, Flip City Magazine? How you doing? Like I said, I'm live on YouTube Live. I'm streaming Wednesdays and Monday. My Monday show, Everything They Don't Want You to Know, and Wednesday shows every week on YouTube from now on. It's going to be slow to build. Our podcast is promoted. Our show's promoted, and we've been building an audience for a while, and it's great. I mean, we're in the top. I found that today. We are officially in the top 10% of all podcasts worldwide. All podcasts, 10%, top 10%. I'm really proud of that. It's amazing, and our audience has been growing, and we have a lot of sponsors and shit. So it's freaking cool, man. Silent is the most deadly, though. Yes, it is. I imagine. I'm like, now I'm thinking about it. I just think Superman farting. It should be written into a comic. I don't know how you do it and not completely ruin the mystique of Superman, but it seems like inquiring minds want to know. It's the kind of shit that fucking Jason Lee would talk about in the Mallrats film. Yeah, no, I'd like to see that happen. All right, so live action Take Two is the Amazon Prime series that went from 2016 to 2019, and it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. I wish they had done more. It's awesome. They really nailed the balance. It's slightly darker. It's more grounded through Arthur's point of view because he has a tragic backstory with his dad, I think, died at the beginning of the show. And it was really, I wasn't expecting it to be like that. I really like my humor when it's grounded in some sort of reality. Young Frankenstein is one of the fucking funniest movies of all time. And it's so funny because it is so genuinely grounded in the source material and in the real world, and everything that is absurd and played straight, just it's so much more funny. And you can actually hear Gene Wilder talk about how that always makes comedy more funny, grounding it. And I agree. Whenever I do comedy, generally speaking, I try to ground it in real shit because I do see that it makes things funnier. Um, the actors were all excellently cast, and even though the first version of his tick suit looked like a bad, like fucking PS2 cutscene or something, they upgraded it quickly, and it worked beautifully. The second suit was awesome. And this time the show ran for 2 full seasons and told a cohesive, multi-layered story, more comic book based than the cartoon, and rooted in real-world emotion through Arthur's trauma, his bond with his sister, and the consequences of being heroic in a world full of fucking nonsense. Anyway, I'll go through the heroes again just so I can credit some of the actors. The Tick, played by Peter, I'm going to fucking mispronounce his name, Serafinowicz. He's awesome. He's in Shaun of the Dead. He's in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's the one where he's like, who a bunch of assholes, he calls them assholes in the original trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy. He's done a lot of stuff. He played there's a show on Netflix that I love, made by Guy Ritchie, called The Gentleman, and he plays one of the Russian mob bosses, and he's like unrecognizable. He is awesome. He's a great actor, period. Great comedic timing, and I really just adore that dude. And he gives us a more existential, poetic, zen, stupid version of the Blue Knight, but he's awesome. All of the monologuing and destiny sort of talk that goes on in the original comics is there. A lot of stuff from the original comics is brought out here in the best ways, and I was really happy to see it, even if it took years and years of multiple Tick projects to get it. It seems like Superman farting might be accidentally super destructive. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. That's why I feel like somehow he could utilize that power. So says Flip City Magazine. Yes, no, you get it. You see where I'm at, man. Arthur's played by Griffin Newman, and he gives an absolutely brilliant performance. Like I said, he really grounds everything. He's neurotic, he's intelligent, completely sincere. It works. And his sister too, who is like the other part of grounding this series. She's Arthur's EMT sister. She ends up becoming a hero in her own right, inspired by Overkill, who's like a grim, dark vigilante with a robot eye and a thirst for blood. Basically, he's like Punisher meets Deadpool. Well, I don't know. He's not really funny he's not trying to be sidekick or like an old-timey superhero who's like really gone through hell, and he's like really overcompensating for his backstory where he was kind of lame in that old-timey kind of superhero kind of way. And then of course he's got a sentient talking boat named Danger Boat, who I don't remember if he's like gay or is it was weird. He's like flirting with people, and he was getting very very jealous of Overkill's relationship with other people. Oh, you've been talking to other people, have you? Fun stuff. And some of the characters that I liked as well. Tinfoil Kevin, who wears Batman ears shaped in the crown of literal tinfoil. He's got visions. He may be a prophet. Maybe he's just crazy, but he's fun. And Midnight, who's a talking sidekick dog from the good old days of superheroing. No notes. Perfection. And then villains-wise, there's a bunch of them, but I mean, just to mention a few that were some of my favorites. Jackie Earl Haley, who is, if you don't recall the name, Rorschach from Watchmen. He's amazing as Rorschach in Watchmen, and he is fucking awesome as the Terror. I mean, just crusty and wheezing and menacing and just like exactly like he looks in the comics in a great way, but also he manages to be so fucking funny. His timing is just like really he's fucking awesome. Seeing him in that series after seeing him in Watchmen made me go, wow, this is no fluke. This guy is really great. He's a great actor. I can't believe he's not utilized in more things because he's really good. His kind of sidekick, number 2 in his empire is Miss Lint. She's got static powers and she's like a femme fatale, but she can't stop attracting lint. And I think that's fucking awesome. It's just such a subtle thing. At the same time, I'm like, Miss Lint? Why would you even go by that name of any level? But great performance. She was a great character and a legit badass woman in a world of writers trying to create badass women and failing all the time. She's great. And of course, her having to deal with the fact that she keeps attracting lint grounds her in a certain amount of like overcoming adversity that most of these strong female that they keep putting into the entertainment sphere don't have. And she's awesome. And also she's like fighting to, like, she doesn't know that the terror is still around somewhere, and like she's kind of keeping his dream alive. Great stuff. And honorable mention to Lobster Hercules, a giant lobster villain with a soft side. He's got a family, a conscience, and a musical moment. I quite liked Lobster Hercules. A few best moments. I already mentioned the Danger Boats jealousy arc. That shit was great. The hug fight between Tick and Overkill. You don't need whatever. You need a hug. And of course, Overkill does not want a hug. Great stuff. And the other great thing worth mentioning isn't a funny moment, but it's just Arthur confronting the Terror. And it was genuinely emotional, and it was earned because they did such a good job seeding it and building it up, and his origin story and all of that stuff just made the comedy land that much better, because you had a great dynamic between, feeling genuine emotions for some of these characters and feeling sadness for the world sometimes, and then laughing your ass off. Great shit. So, beyond the Tick, we've got the Ben Edlund universe of things. And you may be surprised by some of the things I'm going to talk about. If you're a fan at all, you might know some of these things, but hopefully I'll turn you on to a couple extra things that I'm sure Ben Edlund would appreciate me mentioning about him and his brilliance, because more than just me have recognized the brilliance of this man, and they have hired him to do some great work. So, he's not a one-hit wonder. He's a behind-the-scenes genius, really. And after the Tick, he went on to write, produce, and co-create some of the wildest, smartest cult classic TV shows around, starting with The Venture Brothers. And this is the big one. It's one of the smartest, most referential adult cartoons ever made. I know so many people who Venture Brothers is their favorite series, period. And it really is just an extension of the Tick in so many different regards. Edlund contributed to the mythos and the tone, and you could feel his fingerprints in the surreal realism. It is a great one. If you haven't gotten into the Venture Brothers, consider this a coolest pick or a coolest classic. If it's long enough. Usually my coolest classics are anything from before 2000, and my coolest picks are anything from like the past 20 years. So I think it might fall in the past 20 years. So it might be a coolest pick. But the Venture Brothers, if you haven't gotten into it, you will be glad that you did. Next up, Firefly. Yes, he wrote for Firefly. Joss Whedon, who's a great writer himself, brought him in because of his dark, absurdist brilliance. And, it shows. Firefly is a great series, especially if you're like, sci-fi guy like me, Star Wars, Star Trek, anything like that. You probably enjoy Firefly. And then Angel and Supernatural. Edlund shaped many of the best and weirdest episodes of that show, blending horror with comedy effortlessly. And honestly, I think people like Edlund were the people that made those shows some people's favorite shows. Like those Angel and Supernatural wouldn't be anybody's favorite show if not for the fact that they did have episodes that were really irreverent while sticking to, the roots of the show, still horror, still whatever, you're still honoring the previous episodes, but it's those irreverent episodes that charmed the audience into going, man, this is my favorite show, because it wasn't just one size fits all. Everything was essentially the same all the time. And, really, I think Edlund is responsible for making those shows as great as they were. And also another show that some people like, I'm not the biggest fan of this show. But also I didn't watch a lot of it because I really didn't like it. I just didn't want to like it because I didn't like the premise. But I know a lot of people who enjoy this show, and I'm sure that part of why they liked it was because of Edlund's influence, which was Gotham. He wrote and produced for Fox's Batman prequel series, often injecting oddball energy into gritty storytelling. Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. Anyway, that's it. It's a full spoon fest celebrating the absurd genius that is the Tick. From comics to cartoons to live action reboots and beyond, the Tick stands tall as one of the greatest, strangest superheroes of all time. And if you had fun with this one, don't forget, I'm live streaming episodes like this now on YouTube via the Blacklight District Studios channel every Wednesday, every Monday. I'm going to do my Saturday episode right after I finish recording this. If you're listening as a podcast, you'll find it up on Saturday, like per usual. But as soon as I finish recording this episode, I'm going to record Saturday right after that. So people who stick around, they can actually listen to both shows back to back. Usually my Saturday show is only like 15 minutes, sometimes less. So, Yeah, man. And you can sign up for notifications and updates from my upcoming Sugar and Bones magazine from Blacklight District Studios and other cool stuff like back issues of books that we've put out. It's bldsts.com is where you can go right now, bldsts.com, and you can sign up for notifications and get back issues and shit. So do it. Spoon demands it. Also, vote for me every 24 hours as America's next top hitmaker. As of right now, I am number 1 in my category or in my group or whatever the fuck it is. You know, it's all these things are a little scammy, and it's going to take a lot of work for me to actually win the $50,000 prize and get shit going. There's a really good performance at a festival that I'd like to play, and I want that 50 grand, baby. I'm going to take it and put it into this magazine, put it into Blacklight District Studios, put it into touring around the nation, touring conventions, and hopefully seeing you. So if you want to see me and you want to help me just kickstart everything that I'm doing a little bit faster, please go to America's Next Top Hitmaker, find Jesse Blaze, and vote for me. You can get 1 free vote every 24 hours. Or if you got a bunch of money, I guess buy some votes. But I mean, like, it just seems absurd. I'd rather just everybody just vote once every time, and hopefully I get enough people that do that, and I can win anyway. Or if they take it from me, let them fucking spend lots and lots of money in order to fucking usurp me for my first place throne. But yeah, so far, so good. I'm kicking ass. And if you guys would go and vote for me, I'd appreciate that. You can also write me at jesseblaze@jessesnyder.com. I always love that. Love hearing from you guys. And tune in Mondays for everything they don't want you to know. Saturdays for the next celebration of all things cool. And specifically, another great coolest pick, one you may know. After my bagel reference, I couldn't resist. Hint, hint, wink, wink. I'm not going to tell you, but you'll hear in a minute if you're on my YouTube live stream right now. And remember, Destiny wears strange clothes, my friends, and strange clothes require strange laundry detergent. Spoon! I'll see you next Wednesday. You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snyder. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part! Isn't that heavy? I played that! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Coolest alive! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Stay with your tribe! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Revenge of the Geeks! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Week after weeks! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Laughing with you! It's gonna be fucking awesome! And crying sometimes too! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Spelling it out! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Making you shout! I'm a genius! I got lyrics coming out me bum for days! You like that? It's a kazoo solo! I played that too! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Talking some shit! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Living the shit! My voice is fucking awesome! Food in our mouth! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Get in the mouth! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Tell all your friends! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Call right or text! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Raising the bar! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Straight to the stars! It's gonna be fucking awesome! It's starting soon! Straight to the top! Passing the moon! It's gonna be fucking awesome! On with the show! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Ready, set, go! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Fucking awesome! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Just wait! You'll see! You'll all see!
The podcast playground.